It only happens 2 times a year, kind of like the Nordstrom sale, kind of like Amazon Prime Days, Way Days, Target Circle Week. Deal Week at Fig and Farm at Home is back this July 21st to 25th. What is Deal Week? Deal Week is a chance for you to see other courses that I have, ways for you to work with me at a discounted price, and sometimes they're the introduction to new offers. How do you see the deals on Deal Week? You sign up to be a design bestie. I'll deliver the Deal Week catalog on July 18th, and then you'll have all week to shop the amazing deals. One deal drops every single day. It is available at that price for only 24 hours. It's a flash sale happening with 5 different offers all week long. If you want to know how you can work with me, if you've been sitting on the fence for a while and you've been thinking, I need an easy yes, this friend is your easy yes. So if you don't want to miss out, go to bit.ly/design bestie so that you can see the deals delivered right to you. All right, friend, I have a real treat for you today inside of the show. It is the close of Amazon Prime Week. It is, but we're not talking Amazon. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. We grew up with the phrase, home is where the heart is, but our culture has shifted and now the message is, home should be Pinterest perfect. I'm calling BS on that message. Home, it's not about the stuff, it's about the story. And whether you know it or not, your home is a reflection of you and is already saying something. So what is it that you want it to say? Hey, I'm Danny, a former first grade teacher turned home decorator. Going from a dual income to a single income so I could stay home with my babies meant budget, like ramen eating, Goodwill shopping budget. And I learned a few things along the way, like how to bring big style to your home without breaking the bank. And I'm sharing it all with you. Tips, tricks, decor, and design advice so you can learn to tell your story with your style, where you can start living free from the Pinterest perfect trap and start living a life of intention. Welcome to Fig and Farm at Home, where we design happy living and where it doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. I'm not against Amazon. You will even find right now items in my cart getting ready to buy for getting Owen ready for college next month. I'm taking advantage of some of those deals myself, but what I want to do this month in July is remind us that there are other ways that we can support small businesses. Because friend, the reality is small businesses are struggling in this economy right now today. In my little small town, there are 3 shops that have just closed this month. And that is staggering. Considering that there are only 25 shops, think about that percentage. And I know that my little pocket of the US in particular is not alone in that. There are shops all over the place, independent boutiques that are daily fighting against these big box stores, daily fighting against the convenience of Amazon. And I would like to say it's all rosy and we're sharing the love equally, but when I look at my sales, it's just not happening. So this month, instead of sending out my Amazon Prime catalog or creating an Amazon storefront, I'm sending you somewhere else. I'm reminding you of other opportunities that you can spread the love a little bit. Reminding you that there are hardworking people on the back end of all of these little booths that you see set up at flea markets and vendors that you see at cute little craft fairs. It takes a lot of work to set something like that up and to pursue your dream, especially knowing that is usually on the back end of a full-time job. So friend, today we are talking a little bit about how you can support a smaller business in the form of flea markets. Now, if I lost you at flea market, what I want you to know is that I'm likening these a lot to thrift stores. Only in thrift stores, we know that it is a larger population and the donations get kind of mixed together. At a flea market, these are independent vendors. They are running a small business and they are doing all of the curating for all of you. And although I have never been a flea marketer, I have been a boutique vendor. And there are a lot of times when you might shop these places and you might think, these are garage sale prices, or these are thrifting prices. And what I want to say to you is that actually it's not. These are small businesses running these booths, they are taking away the middleman for you so that they can bring the product directly to you. So today I'm going to be sharing my do's and my don'ts of shopping flea markets, because there is some protocol I want you to make sure that you're following and some niceties that will help you go further and will help you get the better deal. Trust me on this. And there are going to be some things that I absolutely recommend that you do not do, because you are going to lose that sale even though you think you're probably doing them a favor. So let's dive in to the tips for what to do and what not to do when you're shopping a flea market. Now, what I want to say is I'm likening flea market to a bazaar. I'm likening it to a craft show. I'm likening it to I call them junk shows. I know in our area, and actually this is a traveling junk show. This is called the Great Junk Hunt, and it visits our local area, 2 spots in Washington, but they also travel down to California and in the Midwest. Vintage market, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. But you get the idea. There are some that look like all of the stuff has just been laid out on a table and there's no rhyme or reason for it other than maybe there's a collection or a category of items out. For example, artwork or silver or 1970s ephemera. That is usually a flea market. A junk show or a vintage market is usually really stylized. These vendors take a lot of care in the way that their presentation is. They might have the name of their store displayed somewhere. They have lots of variation of display items, as well as they display high, they display low. There's high price point items, there's low price point items. There's a wide variety, but generally with a common denominator, a common aesthetic for that vendor. So I'm likening these 2 shopping experiences together so that you know how to be successful and you know what to avoid. The very first tip for what you should do is to stay comfortable. A lot of times these venues are really large. If it's a flea market, they might be outdoors and you might be walking for sometimes miles in order to visit booth after booth after booth. And you want to be comfortable. A lot of times the flea markets are happening in the summer. And I know when my feet get a little bit uncomfortable and it's hot out, game over. We're going to last like 5 minutes. But you want to be really comfortable. And if you're outdoors rather than in an indoor marketplace, bring one of those little wagons or bring a shopping cart that you can push your things around. Because the last thing you want to do is buy something heavy and then have to tote it. But I have a tip for that too. Make sure you bring water, you pack water, and you go well fed. Of course, I know that a lot of places have food trucks here, so you can stop and get a snack here and there, but go on a full tummy rather than on an empty tummy. The second tip is to shop ahead of time. A lot of these flea markets or junk shows, vintage shows, they have the vendors available online, so you know who's going to be there. If this is a place that you go to time after time, you likely have your favorite vendors. There's a guy named Larry at the Packwood Flea Market that I go to every year, and I want to make sure I visit his booth. Some of the other ones are, yes, a little junky. That comes with the territory, and some of them are gold. And Larry, for me, is gold. So I make sure that I know exactly where Larry is located, and I'm going to visit him first. But the other things that you might want to know, if this is your first time going, you might want to just get a sense of what is going to be there so that you can try to just map out the route you're going to take. Usually those sites have a connection to their websites, if they have a website or an Instagram, so you get a general sense of the items that might be there. And knowing ahead of time which ones you want to make sure that you hit on the list, or the ones that you don't care if you avoid, is going to be helpful and more time efficient, especially at these larger venues. You could also be prepared to purchase. Now, here's what I mean. Flea markets and these junk shows, they are oftentimes unique, one of a kind, not one of a kind. There's probably another item like that somewhere, but oftentimes they are curated and you never know what you're going to get. So not only are you being prepared to be surprised, but you're being prepared to purchase, what you don't want to do, and what this happens all the time, is you don't want to go in thinking, oh, I'll swing back around and I'll come back around for that, and then it's gone and you've missed your opportunity. When you see it, it is not Costco. If you like it, prepare to purchase. Now, oftentimes there are early bird entrances, and this can be a really great strategy because the good stuff, as speaking as a vendor, not as a flea market, but of a junk show, that good stuff comes out on day one. Always, all the time. That is the strategy for all vendors everywhere. Those good things come out on day one. The high ticket items, the ones that are going to sell out. And what I want to say here is that if you see it on day one, and if you bought the early bird ticket, don't let it go. If that is something that you've already assessed, it is my aesthetic, it is going to go in this spot, you brought your tape measure, that is another way to be prepared, that it's going to work in that area, don't sit on it, get it then. I've already mentioned being prepared by bringing a wagon. You definitely want to bring a wagon or something that you can carry your items in, whether it's a push tote that kind of looks like, I don't know, it looks like a big rectangular wire box on wheels. What are those things called? Bring one of those, a shopping cart. Bring I have a collapsible wagon that I use. Bring a collapsible wagon. Bring a backpack as your purse. Something that you can carry your load with you, because yes, you can ask vendors to hold on to items, which is a tip I'll get to, but you're not always going to want to do that. So loading up easily and making it more accessible and convenient for you is going to be helpful. Now, one thing about being prepared with cash versus credit card, you want to bring both. And here's why. Most often at flea markets or these vintage shows, people are set up more readily now to accept credit card, and that's fantastic. But sometimes you get a better deal by paying with cash. So keep that in mind if you want the better deal and if you want to try negotiating. Negotiating, by the way, is not off the market here, but there are tips for it, and I'm going to share in just a second how you can negotiate successfully. So if you want to negotiate a better deal, make sure you pack a little bit of cash. Otherwise, it is probably okay. And I'm not speaking for everyone. Of course, there are going to be some vendors who are not set up for a card, but most of them will be. All right, and the second thing I want you to think about when you are thinking about how to prepare for these is to make sure you bring a notebook and a pen, or at least your phone with a camera and a note app. Because on that first go around, when you're shopping and you're thinking, oh, I'm thinking about this item, but I'm not really sure, it is not a definite yes. It doesn't meet my aesthetic. It doesn't meet my price point. It doesn't meet the size requirement, whatever. You're still thinking about it. It was not a definite yes. It might be a maybe, but these places are really big. And if you're willing to take the risk of saying, I'm not getting it now, I'm going to keep on shopping and come back and just let me think about that a little bit, having a way for you to record what the name of the shop is, where it was located at, what item it was, what the price point was, is going to be really helpful for you. So if you're a note taker, take a notebook and a pen. If you're a picture taker and you like to have that reference point, make sure you take notes here along the way so that you know where to come back to. And even when you take that lunch break in the middle of the day, think about and go back and revisit the list that you've just created. Oh yeah, I want to think about that plant pot, or I want to think about that artwork. And sometimes here it is strategy to think, you know what? If it wasn't there, it wasn't meant to be. But every once in a while, friend, you do run into that moment of, dang it, I should have gotten it. I should have gotten it when I seen it. How many of you have regretted ever missing out on a purchase at a place like a flea market or a junk show because you've walked by it and the person right behind you was eyeing over your shoulder what it was you saw, maybe drooling over it even, and snagged it up the minute you walked away? That has happened. I've been a vendor and I know that that has happened multiple times, seeing that take place literally the second you leave the space. All right, friend. And the best thing you can possibly do, and this is just life in general, this is kindergarten 101, it's be nice. Be really, really nice. Because, friend, you get more and you get further in life when you are kind than when you are not. And so if you are wanting to practice negotiating, if you think that you're a great negotiator, but you come out forward or rude, it's going to kill the sale very quickly. So above all, remember just to be nice. But here are some don'ts, and we're going to get to the negotiation in just a minute. What I want you to think about is we are not assuming anything. Okay, so don't assume. These are the things you should not assume. Don't assume that vendors won't take a lower price. If you see an item and you think, oh, that's expensive, don't assume that they're not going to take another price. You just have to be nice about it. I'm going to teach you how to do that in just a minute. Don't assume that your lowball offer is to their benefit. Friends, these vendors, whether they are flea market vendors or junk show vendors, or craft show vendors, bazaar vendors, they have taken a lot of time curating the product, making the product, remediating the product, painting or staining or what have you, building the product. They have spent a lot of time here. And so your lowball offer, even though you think, hey, I laced it with kindness, that might not be to their benefit. That might not be an easy yes. Don't assume, and you probably know this already, that they'll ship an item, but it's worth the ask. Okay, here's another one that we saw all the time. Don't assume that they will hold the item for you while you go and browse to see if you can find a better deal. In fact, don't even ask that question. They are missing out on the opportunity of a sale. And remember, these are real people behind real businesses trying to support their family and feed their family and pay their orthodontia bill. So don't assume that they're going to be happy to hold an item for you that is likely going to be something that someone else will want. So don't ask that question. And then, of course, don't assume that the item you love now is going to be there once you take your final lap or another lap. And then another one, don't assume that you can take photos within the booth. This is one of those where you need to and should ask before you take a photo. Remember, these are real people with real businesses that are trying to make a living. And sometimes, even though the best intention of, oh my gosh, this is so cute, I want to send it to my friend, turns very quickly into, oh my gosh, this is so cute, I can make it myself and a whole heck of a lot cheaper. We don't want that. That is not going to be to your benefit at all. It's considered exceptionally rude if you are the vendor. Okay, which leads me to the art of negotiating. Okay, here's what I want you to think about. Remember, don't assume that their price is the only price that they're going to take. It is absolutely okay for you to negotiate another price. But what I want you to think about is that these are not and should not be considered garage sale prices. Garage sale has a whole different etiquette and a whole different, I'm just going to say aura, I don't know, a whole different vibe. You're not running a small business if you were setting out your garage sale items. You're trying to clear your junk and get a little bit of profit back on what it was that you already spent your money on. Vendors at flea markets and vendors at junk shows, they're running businesses. So offering a garage sale price is a surefire way for them to say, nope, I'm not interested. Go take your poor offer, your bad attitude, and go take it somewhere else. And actually just take it out the door because we don't want it here. No one wants it here. I remember vending one time at a junk show, and again, this was first night. People pay a little extra money to see the good stuff and to have opportunity to buy it first. And I had this really lovely pair of lockers or set of lockers, and it was a bright red. It was gorgeous. And this cocky gentleman came up to me and said, I'll give you $100 for it cash right now. And it was priced fairly at $350. And fairly meaning market value. So vendors do their research, friends. You need to know this. If vendors are curating items, they know what these items are worth. They've done the hard work for you so that they're bringing it to you so you can find them, so you can make your homes a little bit more curated, a little bit more unique. We are not box store pricing here either. These items are not necessarily antique prices, but they could be a little bit higher price point. And we need as shoppers to be okay with that. And I have to tell you, I'm a very kind person. And I did say kindly back to him, no, thank you. He pushed and he pushed and he pushed and he kept haggling, thinking that his best offer was best for me. And quite frankly, it pissed me off. And I said, I'm not selling it to you. I'm not. Even if now he offered me double the price, probably not. Rudeness, friends, will not buy you anything. It won't. But when you are negotiating, one of the things that you can ask is this your best offer? Or is this your best price, I should say? Is that the best you can do on that? Don't make up any excuses. Now, friend, listen, this happens all the time. Do not make up any excuses for why you can't afford the price that they're putting out there. Oh, I have to pay for my hamster. Oh, I have to buy lunch also. Oh, I have to. That's not going to work here. You are making choices of how you're spending your money, and that's fine if you need to go pay for your hamster or the hamster's needs. Please do that. But the idea here is that you're making a choice. And just because your hardship, your lunch that you need to buy that is overpriced at the vendor fair anyway, or the craft fair anyway, you're prioritizing that over this. That's okay. That's fine for you to do. But it's not our problem as vendors. It is your decision making. So leave those excuses out of any negotiating. Friend, one other tip too is to ask if they offer bundle pricing. If you notice a couple things that you like in their booth, ask if they would mind bundling this for a little bit better of a deal. That answer is almost always yes. Yes, absolutely. You're taking more out of their space. You're making room for them to put out other product. You're really making it easy for them to pack up at the end of the show. So asking if they offer bundle pricing is absolutely okay and encouraged. What I want you to know here, friend, is that it is encouraged. It is encouraged. Most vendors set their prices a little higher, expecting that you might negotiate with them. Hear that. Most vendors set their prices higher than what they would be willing to take for it. So it is okay to negotiate. Just do it with kindness. And do not offer any excuses of why you can't afford what it is that they have out. And remember that bundle pricing is okay and that these are not garage sale prices. Okay, a couple more things that are faux pas that you should not do. I've already mentioned don't take a picture. Don't do that. It is okay to ask, hey, may I take a picture here? I think my mom would really love to see that. Yes, absolutely. It is the respectful thing to do to ask ahead of time. Now, should you say ahead of, can I take a picture? Should you say something like, I can make this myself? Don't even bother asking to take a picture. The answer is going to be no. That, again, is considered very rude. They have spent a lot of time either curating, making, remediating somehow. They've spent a lot of time. Remember, this is their business. And so for you to come in and say, I'm going to do this myself at home, sure, you might want to, but let me tell you the reality of that. I hear that even at the shop where I'm now behind the desk and my things are not necessarily on a table with the tent over it. But I hear that even now. And I hear things like, oh my gosh, this is so expensive, I can make my own. Let me tell you the reality of that. And I am getting a little spicy here because this, I know, is a reality of so many small businesses, friend. And you just need to know what the protocol is and the niceties are. And it's not that hard. But when you say that, let's just check reality for a second. Will you? Probably not. Also, when you buy the supplies it's going to take in order to make the thing, you're going to spend way more than you need to because the chances are that that vendor is making multiple products. So they're buying at bulk in order to make multiple products. So they're actually doing it at an economy price. Sometimes even getting products wholesale. You are not going to get them wholesale in order to have the supplies you need in order to make the thing. You're going to be spending more money. And if you think about vendors as artists, which is what they are, these are people who have artistic vision for their aesthetic, for curating the theme or the style that they're going for. It takes a lot of time for them to do that. Sometimes they have to travel all over the place in order to find the items. Sometimes they have to go into people's barns. Larry, you remember me mentioning Larry, right? At the Packwood Flea Market. I've been to Larry's home in the off season of flea markets because I've liked his product so much. And he had multiple barns on his property. I brought my boys one time to his barn And we had a lovely time hand picking the things that he didn't have time to bring or pack in the last flea market. So I went to him. There are multiple things happening behind the scenes. And I think if we just approach it as these are not garage sales, these are real businesses, be nice, keeping those 3 things at the heart of approaching a flea market is going to be to your benefit. Remembering, of course, that you can absolutely negotiate, do it with kindness, and make sure just you lead and you end with kindness. Now, the very last tip is this. Negotiating heavily is best in the final hour. Now, you might have already missed the good stuff, and you probably have, because the good stuff goes on day 1. The good stuff goes on the preview day, the early bird day. But if you are a bargainer, and if you want to have the best price possible, going the last hour is going to be to your benefit, because these vendors, even though they value their work, they are tired after a long weekend. There is so much work that goes into setting up and tearing down and running a show and being on all day if you're not an extrovert. There's so much energy expended in those 3 days that they're ready to get rid of their stuff. So if you go, and we're still doing it with kindness, but if you go in that last hour and you say, oh my gosh, I love this, I was eyeing it, I'm still so glad it's here, can I get it for, or would you do, and you give them a respectable, still, we're not garage sale prices, respectable negotiation for an item. And I guarantee you it's going to be yes, because that vendor is tired. They do not want to pack it back on their U-Haul. A lot of vendors have to hire U-Hauls. They don't want to pack it into their rented or borrowed van or their trailer. Again, it takes a lot of work to set these things up, to run them, and to man them well all weekend long without very many breaks. So you're doing them a favor at this point by saying, I love it, I respect it, would you take this? And just remember, anything with kindness goes a very long way. Friend, that is so much fun. It has geared me up to go to a flea market. If you're in the Seattle area, I hope you go to the Soto Flea Market in Fremont. If you are in the Washington area, I hope you go to the Packwood Flea Market every Memorial Day and Labor Day. It is so much fun. You might find me hanging out next to my favorite vendor, Larry. And otherwise, go and support those small businesses, those junk shows, those vintage shows, those flea markets. Go and support those, because those are real people paying real bills and trying to make a living in a very creative way. And they deserve all the love too. We can't give all our love to Amazon, right? We can't give it all to Amazon. Friend, if you would like to get the thrifting tips, last year, I did an episode, number 306, for how to thrift with success. I have 10 tips. I stand by them all the time. They have not changed. Go and listen to episode number 306. But I've made a really special guide for you for if you would like to download my top tips for thrifting and for shopping flea markets. You can find that at bit.ly/thrift success, and I will send that right to your email. All right, friend. And if you are on my email list, this week I'm featuring one more small shop, a small business that you might enjoy. They have an online presence and you might enjoy finding some of their wares. So instead of fighting the traffic or the parking spots at these flea markets, I'm bringing them to you all July long. So be on the lookout for that in your newsletter. And if you're not on my newsletter, you need to be. I want to be Design Besties. You can do that by going to bit.ly/design bestie, BESTIE. And until next time, I'll see you soon. Hey, real quick before you go, if you learned something new or found value in today's podcast, would you head over to iTunes to Fig and Farm at Home and leave a review and subscribe to the show? That would be awesome. And if you'd like to connect with my community of mamas who are learning to be intentional storytellers within their own homes, join us at bit.ly/design101 group. There's always more room at the table. See you soon.